Hey, Jason here from Simply Swider. If your Samsung air conditioner is showing a C422 error code and won't cool properly, you're in the right place. In this video, I'll walk you through 5 common causes of this error, from simple fixes that cost nothing to more complex repairs. Most people assume it's just low refrigerant, but I'll show you why that's often wrong and how to find the real problem. Before we get started, if you run into any questions, jump into our Facebook group. Links in the description. We've got thousands of people helping each other fix their appliances, and I pop in there daily to help out. So the most common cause is going to be a refrigerant leak or low charge. Here's what happens. You don't have enough refrigerant mass in the system, so that indoor coil never gets cold enough to satisfy the logic. I had this customer last month who called me panicking because her unit was blowing warm air and showing C422. Turned out to be a tiny leak at one of the flare connections. Vibration over 3 years had worked it loose. Here's your diagnostic checklist for refrigerant issues. First, check if your indoor unit is blowing room temperature air instead of cool air. Second, look at your outdoor unit. The compressor might be running, but the larger copper pipe should be hot to the touch. If it's only lukewarm, you likely have low refrigerant. Important safety note, refrigerant work requires EPA certification and specialized tools, so this is definitely a job for a professional technician. Don't fall into that trap. The compressor might just be off on a safety lockout. If you've got manifold gauges, connect them up and watch what happens in cooling mode. Standing pressure might look normal, but operating pressure will drop toward vacuum real quick if you've got a leak. Safety first though, if you don't have gauges, vacuum pumps, and EPA certification, this is definitely service call territory. You're looking at a leak repair, vacuum, and recharge by weight. Next up is the electronic expansion valve, or EEV. This little guy regulates refrigerant flow into your evaporator coil. When it fails in the closed position, it's like having a clogged artery. Refrigerant can't flow, so no cooling happens. I remember this lady who had a newer Samsung unit that would start up fine but never cool down. Took me about 2 minutes to figure out the EEV was stuck closed. Here's a simple test anyone can do. Turn off your unit's breaker for 30 seconds, then turn it back on. Stand next to your outdoor unit and listen carefully during the first minute of startup. You should hear a distinct clicking or ticking sound. That's the expansion valve resetting itself. If you don't hear this sound at all, your expansion valve likely needs attention from a
To white,
technician.
we have
If you're
nothing.
comfortable with a multimeter,
From
you
red
can
to
check the coil
blue,
resistance on
we
those
do
colored
have
wires,
a electrical
usually
resistance
around
value, so we have
46 ohms between
45 ohms.
phases. Open or short circuit means the coil's dead. The good news is replacing just the external coil is pretty straightforward. It clips right on. But if the valve body itself is seized, that's a whole different story involving brazing and refrigerant recovery. That's when you call someone like me. Another common culprit is the outdoor main PCB, specifically the IPM, that's the intelligent power module, or the power factor correction circuits. These components fail and stop sending power to your compressor or EEV. Here's what actually happens. Electrical surges, heat fatigue, or just degraded thermal paste between the IPM and heatsink causes these modules to burn out. I had this guy call me last week. His Samsung unit was 5 years old and showing C422, found burn marks right on the IPM module of the outdoor PCB. The board was getting power, but it wasn't driving the compressor at all. Here's how you can check. If you're comfortable around electrical, you can test for voltage output to the compressor during startup. Those UVW terminals, if you've got 0 volts but the board's powered up, your inverter drive circuit is toast. Visual inspection works too. Look for obvious burn marks near the IPM module or IGBTs on the outdoor board. Don't ask me how I know this, but way too many people condemn the compressor when it's actually the board that's not driving it. Replacing the whole PCB is actually pretty straightforward. Most are plug and play. But if you're thinking about component level soldering, that's definitely advanced repair shop territory. Here's one that catches people off guard: outdoor fan problems. When that fan doesn't run, head pressure spikes immediately. The system detects this thermal chaos and shuts down a refrigerant flow to protect the compressor. Sometimes it's simple stuff. Fan blade physically stuck because of debris or even installed backward. Don't ask me how many times I've seen that one. Other times it's electrical. The fan motor capacitor failed, or if it's a brushless DC motor, the internal driver went bad. Here's your quick check. With power off, try spinning that fan blade by hand. If it's stiff or won't turn, motor bearings are seized. If it spins freely, you're looking at electrical issues. I remember this customer who thought his unit needed a complete refrigerant recharge. Turned out a plastic bag had wrapped around the fan blade and nobody noticed. 5-minute fix, zero cost, way cheaper than the service call he was about to make. This one's mainly for new installations, but it happens more than you'd think. The liquid or gas service valves on the outdoor unit get left closed after installation. Pure installer oversight. I've seen seasoned techs do this. They're focused on leak checking and just forget to open the valves. Here's the dead giveaway. The error shows up almost immediately on the very first startup. If your system worked fine yesterday and suddenly shows C422, this isn't your problem. But if it's a fresh install and you're getting the code right away, grab a hex wrench and check those service valve stems. They should be backed out fully counterclockwise. Don't be embarrassed if this is your issue. I have driven out to jobs where this was the only problem. The EEV coil is going to run you somewhere between 40 and 80 bucks, and it's actually pretty easy to replace if you're handy. This is the external part that clips onto the valve body. You don't need to cut into refrigerant lines or anything like that. It's basically a stepper motor coil that moves the valve internally. When this goes bad, you'll know because you won't hear that clicking sound during startup. Most of the time, it's just the coil that fails, not the entire valve assembly. Way cheaper than calling someone like me out to do a 15-minute job. The outdoor main PCB is where things get expensive. You're looking at anywhere from $200 to $350 depending on your model. The good news is most of these are designed to be plug-and-play replacements. You'll disconnect a bunch of wire harnesses, swap the board, and plug everything back in. Advanced repair shops can sometimes fix these at the component level, replacing just the IPM module or IGBTs, but that's definitely not DIY territory. Here's the thing though, don't just throw a new board at the problem without checking everything else. I've seen people blow new PCBs because they didn't realize the outdoor fan motor was shorted. Outdoor fan motors typically run between $100 and $200. These aren't usually repairable. When they're seized or have internal electrical failures, replacement is your only option. The installation difficulty depends on your unit design. Some are straightforward. Disconnect power, remove the fan blade, unbolt the motor, reverse the process. Others might have the motor integrated into the housing in a way that makes it more challenging. If the motor bearings are just getting stiff but it still spins, sometimes you can get away with cleaning and lubricating, but that's usually a temporary fix. All right, if you're dealing with faulty parts, let's talk about what you're looking at cost-wise and complexity-wise. The repair economics on Samsung C422 errors can vary wildly. You might spend $0 opening a service valve, or you could be looking at a few hundred if you need a new PCB. Here's the thing about these repairs. The cheapest fixes are often the most commonly missed, and the most expensive parts get blamed when something simple is actually wrong. Now you can see on the screen right now the most common Samsung models that deal with C422 errors. The WindFree and DB68 series are particularly prone to this because of how Samsung designed their unified error logic. They lump leaks, valve closures, and sensor faults all under the same code. The inverter models in general have issues with IPM module burnout due to thermal paste degradation over time. Maybe you'll spot your model up there. If so, you're definitely not alone with this problem. Here's your step-by-step action plan for C422 errors. Step 1. If this is a new installation, check that service valves are fully open. Step 2. Power cycle your unit and listen for clicking sounds from the outdoor unit. Step 3. Verify your outdoor fan spins freely and runs properly. Step 4. Only then consider refrigerant issues which require professional service. Following this order can save you hundreds in unnecessary service calls. Remember, this error pattern isn't unique to Samsung. Anytime you've got electronic expansion valves and inverter-driven compressors, these same failure families show up across brands. The diagnostic approach stays the same. If you guys know someone who's having air conditioning troubles, please send them the link to this video or a link to my channel where I have tons of other videos showing how to fix pretty common issues with appliances, sometimes for free or as little cost as possible. It sure beats having a repairman come out and spending several hundred for them to fix it when it could be something so simple. If this helped you get your Samsung AC working again, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Let me know which fix worked for you. Really helps other people with the same problem. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We'll get this out to more folks who need to save some time and money. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.